Businesses will lose $1 million every now and then, even successful businesses. That's the price you pay when you try to make a successful endeavor work when there's a lot of risk factor involved. But how does Square Enix, a really, really big video game franchise company, lose $63 million in just one fell swoop with the Avengers game, a game that had an entire successful movie franchise behind it, backing its corner, and even the help of other big content creators? Well, let's find out. Greeting fellows nerds, welcome to another Nerdful video. In this channel we talk about video games, board games, anime, TV shows throughout the week, while also playing MTG on Arena. So if any of that stuff piqued your interest, consider hitting that subscribe button down below so you have an easier time finding me in the future. In the meantime, let's find out why Square Enix lost $63 million with the Avengers game and why it is basically unrecoverable at this point. So let me get this straight. Yes, the Avengers game is not a great game in of its rights, but you have to do more than just create a bad game to lose $63 million. So what exactly happened? Well, to start off, the foundation of the video game was actually there. The video game had a decent storyline and it had really, really cool mechanics and combos for a player to get invested to. And you could, pick a character and just play that character all the way through and then branch out to other characters. The game actually had a lot of flexibility in allowing you to play whoever you wanted and to jump into the missions or the story and have a pretty decent time just bashing or shooting or flying around the map. But unfortunately, that's it. That's the bare foundation of the game, and it never really expanded. Once you finished the story, you never really got to do anything else. You were just doing basically dungeons and raids over and over, and the excuses to do these were actually really, really stupid. It's hard to convince a person to say, look, that boss you defeated in the main story, there's actually 50,000 clones out there, so you actually need to defeat them all to progress and get like achievements and stuff, achievements that don't actually mean much to the main story. And I have to say, there's only so many times I can be Taskmaster or Abomination and say like, yeah, I'm progressing the story, and unfortunately, that's exactly what you do after the main story is finished. And the story you can beat pretty quickly as well. I think I was able to beat it in less than a month, and I wasn't playing all that often in those days. I was playing probably no more than 2 to 3 hours. So while the story is great, it's a pretty quick finish. And when you're just doing dungeons and raids over and over again, you're gonna lose interest pretty quickly. But Avengers is trying to come out and say, hey, look, we actually have more content for you to be excited about. So old players, keep playing. We actually have more to offer. And new players, there's more content. Like, yes, we had a stumble, but please try this out. We just came out with new content with Kate Bishop. You're going to get more content with Hawkeye, Black Panther, Spider-Man. We have so much planned. Please try us out. Unfortunately, that's not going to work, and that's not going to recover $63 million. Want to know why? Well, the answer is simple. Just adding new characters to a game and giving those characters a quick story isn't going to expand the game outright. You're going to probably need an entire new story arc to actually get people invested and interested in coming back or buying the game altogether. Don't get me wrong, like the Kate Bishop run was fine. Like it's actually interesting and Kate Bishop's a cool character to play. Again, there's nothing actually mechanically wrong playing the different characters. Like I thoroughly enjoy playing Black Widow, even though she's one of the weaker characters, but I actually enjoy playing her. But unfortunately, there's nothing actually exciting story content wise in the game, and a new characters adding an additional 2 to 4 hours isn't going to get people invested back in the game. But there were other hiccups in the game too that Square Enix made that is basically going to make this game unrecoverable. So if you're on Twitch and you get those ads from watching different streamers, you might have seen the 5 Gum commercial with Lily Pichu playing the Avengers game. And while Lily Pichu is certainly a big face in Twitch and is well respected in the Twitch community, unfortunately that's just not enough to get people excited about the game. And while the commercial itself was actually pretty good in terms of production and kind of funny in some ways, that's not enough to get an entire community excited about a game. And you had to do more than just put a streamer to a game and hope that people would buy it. What they actually need to do was a lot more. I mean, think about it. When was the last time you saw Lily Pichu or the OTV gang and friends play Avengers? I think they only played a couple times, and honestly, they kind of made fun of it more than anything, to my recollection. So the fact that they're not still playing the game, the fact that they're not excited about it, the fact that it's basically dead to the biggest streamers, to the biggest content creators, basically means that you're not going to the commercial does nothing. The commercial is actually not reaching out to people because you get them for about 10 to 15 seconds, and then when they're actually watching the streamer go live, there's nothing backing up the commercial that was just made. So basically you're left with a 15-second person going, or 15-second window of a person going, okay, hurry up, let me see the content creator. I'm actually not excited because there's nothing more beyond this 15 seconds that I'm seeing. I mean, come on, seriously. Name me the last time that you saw a big content creator or a streamer play this game. I bet you that it was probably at least 2 to 3 months ago. But honestly, the game might have survived if it did a little bit of a user-friendly type of currency. And unfortunately, it's really, really difficult to get currency. Kind of in my last video, I said it's actually not that hard. But as you want the cooler costumes or the cooler outfits or the cooler emotes, you realize how expensive it is. And it's really draining just to play the same dungeon over and over. But if they made it a little bit easier, encourage people to get cooler costumes and try them out, even though they don't actually do much besides a whole aesthetic look, it might have still encouraged people to, keep playing because they see a new costume and they say, hey, that's, relatively easy for me to get. I can maybe get that within, a week or about 5 days. So I'm going to, keep playing the game, try it out, and then a new costume comes out and then you kind of repeat the process. So you might have gotten people a little bit more excited if it was just a lot easier to make aesthetics and costumes easier to get, essentially. And yes, while I understand that you could pay with actual money, I feel that a lot of gamers, probably a majority of the gamers, at least playing the Avengers game, weren't willing to spend real money for aesthetic costumes that actually don't do anything besides improve just how the character looks. Now, are there solutions to fixing the $63 million loss? I mean, honestly, no. Once you've laid the foundations of a game and it's gotten a really, really bad start, I mean, consider all the glitches that happen and bugs throughout the games that happen too. If it has a really, really rough start, it's practically impossible to recover that. I mean, we're seeing that with Cyberpunk already. We're seeing a lot of people telling other people, hey, if you have the previous Xbox and the previous PS4, don't get the game because it's just not going to run well. There's too many bugs. I mean, even big Twitch streamers are, kind of saying, yeah, the game's buggy. It really may not be worth it in your time to actually get this game right now until everything's fixed. So we're already kind of seeing that with Cyberpunk, and of course, it's already happened with Marvel Avengers. So at this point it's really impossible, but perhaps there are a few things, and at least these are my small suggestions to perhaps at least mitigate the loss that has happened. And if Avengers is a foretelling or a foreshadowing of Cyberpunk, man, y'all who invested in those stocks better brace yourselves because it's getting a lot of heat right now. Anyways, here are my small suggestions to at least maybe recover some of the damage that is lost. The first thing I would do is be on the start to create a major story arc. Look, the story in the campaign was actually like pretty decent. Like I actually had a fun time following Kamala's story and other characters' journeys as they were getting ready to fight the big bad evil that is MODOK. But while MODOK, really kind of like a B-list villain, kind of right now due to the MCU, it was still a great story and a great use of a villain. And think of like the works you could do with better known villains that the community knows more. You could throw in Thanos, honestly. I think that's a little ambitious right now, but maybe you could start with characters like Kang or Venom, and stuff like that. Essentially, kind of get a new story arc started. If it's not at least in the works, they should start really soon if they're actually thinking about continuing producing more content, producing more characters, producing more side stories to get the people more invested. But honestly, the closest thing that will save the game is bringing an entire new big story arc. So, and hopefully a little bit longer than the one that we originally got. I think that would actually get people maybe interested, get them going back to the game, or at least get new people excited. So that would kind of be my first suggestion. Work on a good story like you already have, expand on it, and advertise it well. Now, second thing I would do, and it's I understand it might be a little pushy to ask, but if you're going to streamline content, you have to do it in a very reasonable manner, I should say. Not quick, but a reasonable manner. When people were actually excited for Kate Bishop because it's like, okay, yeah, the game isn't that great. The story was great, but we're kind of bored here. But we're getting Kate Bishop pretty soon, so like I'll keep playing. And then when they announced that, oh, we're pushing the date for Kate Bishop back and thus pushing the dates for other character releases back, it really frustrated the fans because it was just, oh, that was the only thing we were excited for, and now you're pushing it back. And I think a lot of interest fell after that. And while yes, there's the argument to be made of like, let them fix the game, let them fix the bugs, let them improve the game before they release Kate Bishop. They really should have done that prior. They should have fixed like a lot of the major things, visual, sound bugs prior to the game being released, or at least to the point where they were able to fix it pretty quickly. And B, you should kind of stick to what you announce in a game that is already kind of falling apart. You should at least, even if it's not the greatest release, it at least gets people a little bit more invested or excited. So, honestly, like I know Clint's not coming out till I believe early 2021, which is fine because we're already in December. At least by the time you're seeing this video, we're in December 2020. But for future characters, I think if you're trying to get people invested, you shouldn't have them wait more than like a month, like max 2 months. And honestly, even then, like I feel like 2 months is already just a bad sign of releasing those characters with their own special storylines. And honestly, I think at this point, people are most excited for Spider-Man and of course Black Panther. Those are kind of big popular names, and of course with Chadwick Boseman's passing, I think a lot of people want to honor him in a certain way. So I think them playing Black Panther feels like they're doing part of that in a certain sense. So I would recommend streamlining those characters faster than they originally planned. Finally, like I mentioned earlier, in-game currency, it's slow, it's tedious. Just make it a little bit easier to get cooler costumes, and not even the legendary ones. Like there are some great costumes at the epic and even the rare level that I would consider buying, but I have to think twice because but I do want to save up for legendary because they end up being more, so I'm just going to keep waiting it out. Just make the in-game currency a little bit easier, and you might get people, at least the ones who are still playing actively, to keep playing. And I have to say I haven't played in a couple of months, honestly, and to be honest, I watched the Kate Bishop storyline through YouTube and I enjoyed it like through YouTube, and I'm sure I would have enjoyed it while playing the game, but I'm at the point of I'm just gonna wait for more characters to come out, play it all at once, and then call it a day. Well, I mean, that's all the advice I could honestly think about that would help a $63 million loss in a game that was off to a rocky start, honestly. I mean, even then, actually, it had a decent start and it just finished so poorly. So it's the other way around. But, those are my few tips. But if you guys have any ideas on how a video game, the Avengers video game, could maybe make back some of its money, let me know down in the comments below. And I think it would be interesting to bounce ideas back and forth. Well, anyways, that is all I have for you today. This is a topic I've wanted to talk about, and it's probably a topic I'll keep resuming over and over as new content of the game gets released. So if you want to see me talk more about future releases and my future thoughts about the game as it continues to release more content, consider hitting that subscribe button. I believe at this point YouTube is showing you the top of my head, near the top of my head, my most recent upload, and below that is a video that YouTube thinks you specifically will like. So go ahead, check those out, and consider subscribing. Thank you all so much for helping me grow this channel. Thank you so much for just supporting me throughout this time. Stay safe. Have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. Have a Merry Christmas, and I will see you for your next Nerdville.